Folks, there's no denying it anymore. There's no, well, maybes. There's no, we need to see more tests. The Golden State Warriors are legitimate world championship contenders. Now, am I going to come out here and say I predict them to win the world championship? Not quite yet, but are they in the conversation? Hell effing yes. Folks, they just finished this 5-game road swing 4-1. The 3-game set that many considered, myself included, the most difficult in recent NBA history, back-to-back-to-back road games against the reigning world champion Celtics, against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are still undefeated, against the OKC Thunder, who before tonight had the best defense in the NBA and were atop the Western Conference standings. And the Warriors just went 2-1 in that swing. Their toughness knocks players out of games. That wasn't a coincidence. The Warriors are physical. They're tough. They're mentally as sharp as any team out there. And goes without saying, folks, strength in numbers is a real thing. And your Golden State Warriors are contenders once again. Let's break down what went down in OKC tonight. If Stephen Curry was correct in his postgame interview, the first and last trip to OKC, and they come away victorious. Yes, that fourth quarter was a little sketch. Who cares? They won. They dominated for nearly the entirety of this game. Let's break down what's next. It's a Sunday night live party here on Golden Days for the simple reason that they won some damn tough games, and they're an elite team, folks. Is Steph going to win a 5th championship this year? Let's talk about it. It's the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. It was a pretty crazy night.
Woo! Let's go. In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you got
Hey now, how about them Warriors? Woo! Welcome to the Golden Days. I am your host for the evening, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. I'm over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. The program is on all social media platforms at Golden Days Pod. Before we get into it, what a Sunday evening, and what a Sunday for the Bay Area. The Niners pull off a wild last-minute victory. Brock Purdy, the gunslinger, leading game-winning drives. That's all I want to see out of the kid, to be sold on him. And then the main event this evening, the Golden State Warriors taking on the OKC Thunder, 2 one-loss teams. There was only going to be one one-loss team when this was said and done, and it's the Warriors, baby. They come home with a wildly successful road trip that went 4-1, including tonight's beautiful result again in Oklahoma City, 127-116. The final, the Golden State Warriors with the win, improved to 8-2. And I stand corrected. They were not 2 one-loss teams. I'm sorry about that. But the Warriors are now a 2-loss team, and so are the OKC Thunder. And we'll find out if the Warriors will be atop the Western Conference following tonight's Suns-Kings game. The Suns right now are atop the West, but regardless, what a game. What a result. Stephen Curry was cooking. Jonathan Kuminga was showing us what he could become and what he actually is at the moment after a rough 3-game start. Before we get into the details, and of course, I'm going to get into the chat. Of course, I'm going to post the link if anyone wants to jump on with me. But before we get into everything, let's first and foremost give some love to the sponsor of Golden Days, the official sponsor at the moment. And again, the door is currently open. We're negotiating with very exciting potential clients. But at the moment, BetOnline is the marquee sponsor. They're the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. And before I continue on really fastly, if any of you out there want to be a sponsor of this program, which is growing by the day, which posts fantastic measurables, just shoot us an email. It's warriors24pod@gmail.com. Again, warriors24pod@gmail.com. Let's have a beautiful relationship that is mutually beneficial for both sides. And again, if you're wondering how is the ad gonna sound like, look like, again, just listen to me give some love to Bet Online. They provide the earliest odds to in-game live betting. Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, plus NHL, plus UFC. They're covering MMA. They got everything you could bet on their website. Head to Bet Online today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. And again, a final score in OKC, 127-116. And Dino Manrique saying, what is up from the Philippines? I love the global audience. Pleasure to see you as well. Happy Sunday night, everybody. I mean, Sunday nights are kind of sketchy. They're a little, up in the air in terms of whether or not it's a good vibe type of day and evening, or if there's some dread approaching because you got another damn work week approaching the very next day. So to be redundant with the verbiage there. But the point is, Sunday nights can be iffy. For some people, they're awesome. You're relaxing. It's a whole day off. For other people, again, you're looking ahead and you're dreading it. But if you're a Warriors fan, it's a win-win no matter how you're feeling, because the Warriors won a game that was a statement type event, meaning certain regular season games carry a hell of a lot more weight than others. This game was important for both teams in the sense that they both wanted to win. They both viewed the opposition as a test for where they currently stand as a team 10 games into the regular season. And yes, we're now at the 10-game mark. We're nearly at the 8th mark of the NBA season. For all you old school stoners out there, that word used to mean a lot more than it does now. And regardless, the Golden State Warriors 8-2 to start the season, but these wins over the Celtics, and I think tonight's game was even more impressive, being an OKC Thunder team that was number one in the NBA in nearly every statistical category pertaining to defense. And the Warriors came in here and dropped buckets. They dropped points like it was going out of style. 127, I apologize, is not the scoring output you would expect the NBA's number one defense to give up. So a huge win in that regard. And obviously Stephen Curry with the game of the year for him. We got to start with Mr. Wardell himself in terms of who we're giving love to. Led all scorers in this game with 36 points. But folks, those fourth quarter threes, I mean, the OKC Thunder should not have made this game as close as it was. The Warriors are leading by 30. That was their biggest lead. And then the Thunder cut that lead down to 6 with approximately 4 minutes to play. It was not comfortable, ladies and gentlemen. It was just very similar in terms of vibe to the Rockets game, where the Warriors nearly blew that one as well. And then Jonathan Kuminga with some late game heroics. And this one, Kuminga had a lot of heroics throughout, but the late game heroics belonged to Stephen Curry. Those bombs he was dropping were massive. Every time the Thunder thought they were actually coming back, there you had Stephen Curry again dropping these huge, moral-destroying, momentum-busting threes. And this is courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area. We got to hear it now. We got to hear from Steph. Let's hear from Steph. This was during his post-game interview with the in-studio panel. Here's Steph talking about the heroics. I love the fact, I don't know if it's going to be in this soundbite, but I love the fact that Steph was aware that this is likely the last game of the regular season that the Warriors are playing in OKC. I think they play 2 more times after this, and both those games are going to be at Chase Center. And the next game coming up is going to be very emotional, very sentimental. Klay Thompson is coming back in town. And so Steph might be talking about that as well. But regardless, let's just hear from Steph. I don't want to wait any longer to hear one of the greatest players in the history of this great game, easily the greatest shooter ever, a magnificent performance. I'll give you a stat line after we hear from Steph talking about tonight and what's to come, because Klay Thompson, his old Splash brother, is coming back in town.
Steph, we're finally at the game now where, you can process the emotions of having to play against Klay Thompson. What is that going to be like for you? Talk to me, Steph.
He's the outside, right, Steph?
Come on, Steph.
I'm not ready for this, man. It's going to be a lot to look forward to, and I'm excited to see him, obviously. as a friend. But I'm trying to conserve all of my mental energy for Tuesday because it's going to be a lot.
It is going to be a lot. And just to give you a heads up, on Tuesday, they're giving out captain hats, kind of like the one that Clay wore once, kind of like a ship captain. What a ship captain typically wears. They're giving hats like that out to the entire crowd. And if what I've read is correct, the plan is going to be for the entire Chase Center crowd to tip their cap to Klay Thompson as a salute for his many years of service to the Golden State Warriors. But let's stay in the moment for now, because the Golden State Warriors, this was a massive game. There is no doubting it anymore that the depth of this team has resulted in the construction of a title contender. And I've been giving Mike Dunleavy Jr. his props for a while now. I think he deserves it. I think everyone in this organization deserves credit for the fact that this turnaround is wildly exceeding nearly everyone's expectations, as the Warriors win 127-116 over the OKC Thunder again to improve to 8-2. Stephen Curry in this game, 36 points, a season high for him. He was a plus 21 in net rating. Him and Andrew Wiggins, both far and away above everyone else when it comes to the net rating category. Both those players were, again, a plus 21. Stephen Curry, though, 36 points. He was 7 of 13 from beyond the arc. The fourth quarter, I want to read those stats as well, because he was making some huge buckets late in the game when they desperately needed it. So in the fourth, hold on one second here. I just got to refresh my screen to get those numbers for the final quarter of the game. Here we go. Stephen Curry in the fourth quarter, 2 of 4 from deep. Those 4 3-point attempts were also his only field goal attempts. But here is the stat that sticks out to me for Stephen Curry in the fourth quarter, besides the fact that he hit those bombs, those 2 huge 3-pointers, finished the fourth quarter with 8 points, also hit a pair of free throws. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Stephen Curry has missed a free throw attempt this entire season. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that stat is true. And maybe the best stat line, though, besides those huge 3-point bombs that he hit, is the fact that on a night when Steph only had 3 turnovers, and I say only by his standards, because him and Draymond Green were, again, like just having some ridiculous turnovers in this game based off either just fancy dribbling that went awry, or just, behind the back passes that were unnecessary and resulted in the other team getting the ball. More of the same from Steph and Dre tonight, but 0 turnovers from Stephen Curry in the fourth quarter. And again, that was huge. Draymond Green had 3 turnovers in the game total in the fourth quarter. Draymond had 1. DeAnthony Melton had 2 turnovers in the fourth, but Steph had no, I'm sorry. He had 1. He only had 1. He had 1 turnover, but still, just that 1 is enough. And it didn't burn him. But Stephen Curry in this game one more time, tightening up in the fourth quarter with just 1 turnover. I do apologize for that. I was looking at the wrong column. But again, 1 for the fourth, considering how Steph sometimes can be loosey-goosey with the ball, is great. 7 of 13 from beyond the arc total. 13 of 23 from the field total. He also added 5 rebounds. He also added 7 assists, 3 turnovers total in this game. Even had a blocked shot as well. So a 36-point night for Stephen Curry, who played 36 minutes, 30 seconds. And folks, this is where the depth truly comes into play, because what the Warriors' depth is allowing them to do is basically never have a bad night, because this team, when you are 12 deep, all right, like they are, hell, they're 13 deep. I mean, we're not seeing Lindy Waters again. I don't know why he got phased out of the rotation, and we could talk about that later in the show. But when you are as deep as the Warriors are, you're always going to be able to make up for those players who are having an off night with another talented starter-worthy player who can pick up that slack. And given what you have a 13 deep rotation, you're going to be able to almost always find 5 people that are not having an off night. You can always find 5 people that don't have issues with replenishing their energy reserves. And the depth thing is massively huge, and we're seeing the results of it. The results are you're giving Stephen Curry and Draymond Green two of the greatest players ever in the history of the NBA, and you're surrounding those two with an 11-man army of individuals who can legitimately play basketball. And these are the results. I still personally need to see it against some of the teams out there who are vaunted in terms of size. And even more specifically, I'm referring to the LA Lakers. I want to see it against the Nuggets. I want to see it against the Timberwolves. There's still some tests out there because I don't think it's a coincidence that they lost that Cavaliers game, given the Cavs are a very big and long team. But damn, does this team look good. And we can safely say now that they are among the elite of elites in the NBA. They are title contenders. It's not hyperbolic. We're not exaggerating. This is not fluff that I'm espousing here. The Golden State Warriors are legitimate world championship contenders. That is awesome. They're back. That 2-year, whatever that was, is gone. The Golden State Warriors, the ones we remember from 2022, the ones we remember from 2014 through 19, they're back. The dynasty is not dead, can't be dead, because they might add a 5th championship to it. That is how real this team is. And now, Pinoy reformat brings up a good point. I heard a stat, and I don't know if this is true, but Bob Fitzgerald said at the end of the broadcast tonight that the Golden State Warriors have won 25 of their last 27 road games. If that's correct, and I haven't had a chance to research that, he literally said that right before we went on the air. So I don't know if that's true, but it's believable because this Warriors team last year was kicking major ass on the road. And again, they're continuing that trend that started last year. So Pinoy reformat, who's questioning whether or not we're going to see this dominance at home, it's a valid question. I'm curious myself, but because for some reason the Golden State Warriors at home are just haven't been the same. I mean, they were a 500 team at home last year, and the Golden State Warriors to start this year, they've only played 3 home games, but they're 2-1 at home, 6-1 on the road. And again, the tests continue because they played the Dallas Mavericks on Tuesday, Klay Thompson's homecoming. But regardless, this Warriors team is real. They're legit. They are a title contender. Folks, it's okay to get excited. It really is. If you're a Warriors fan, if you consider yourself a member of Dub Nation, your team is one of the best in the NBA. They're in the conversation for a 5th championship in 10 years. It's very possible. And it wasn't just Stephen Curry, though, that really picked up the slack on tonight's game. Jonathan Kuminga was lights out. And so Chet Holmgren got injured very early in this game. This happened in the first quarter when Andrew Wiggins, who also had an awesome game, I'm going to talk about him at depth in just a moment, but Andrew Wiggins goes up for a bucket. He attacked the paint. He was driving full force. Chet Holmgren met him at the rim, and Andrew Wiggins plays like that. There were also a couple of really huge pivotal rebounds in the fourth quarter as well that reminded me of the Andrew Wiggins of 2022, this force who is a 5-tool player and who can 1 minute play shooting guard, his natural position, but then next minute, especially against a smaller team like the Thunder, can play power forward. He can play like a big. And he did that tonight. He went up to the rim, went up to try to get a layup in there. He initiated contact. And Chet Holmgren, who is still like Kevin Durant skinny, could not handle the brunt of that physicality. He not only got hit by Andrew Wiggins, but the contact forced him to land awkwardly hard on the ground, and he landed right on his hip. And I saw his right leg kind of get bent awkwardly as well. I still have no clue what happened to him. I never wish injury and bad health on anyone. So I hope he's okay. But that play was a very clear indication of where Andrew Wiggins is. And this wasn't the first time we've seen players on the opposing team just kind of act stunned over the physicality of the Warriors. Are they a smaller team than most when it comes to height? Yes. But is this year's team a physical, long, athletic team? Yes. And that play knocked Holmgren out. And the Thunder already did not have Isaiah Hartenstein because of a hand injury that I believe that he suffered. And they're saying he's going to come back next month potentially. And don't quote me on the hand injury. I can't remember what his injury was exactly. But so Chet Holmgren was their starting center and really one of their only bigs. So when he got knocked out of this game early in the first quarter, the Thunder really did not have anyone else to combat or to reinforce their front court. So the Thunder turned into the Warriors in a lot of ways, in the sense that they were throwing 3-4 guard lineups out there. You oftentimes saw players like Jalen Williams playing center. They went total small ball in this game, and that is the Warriors style. You're not going to beat the Warriors at their own game. And the Warriors already seem to have things under control before the injury, but when Holmgren went out, it opened the door for a player like Jonathan Kuminga to feast. I mean, Kuminga, who's 6'7", about 220 approximately, a big dude, but he's not a center size, right? He's a wing who can play small ball 4. And when the Thunder were going with their own small ball version, it was feast and famine for Jonathan Kuminga, and he thankfully took advantage of that and had himself not just a great night. The road trip, all in all, has been phenomenal for Jonathan Kuminga. And I could personally safely say he was the second best player on the floor tonight for the Warriors. And then Andrew Wiggins obviously is in that discussion as well. But Kuminga had himself a night, and I have to give a tip of the cap to Steve Kerr, because at the end of the game, I was watching the Golden State Warriors with the same lineup they started with. DeAnthony Melton started at the shooting guard position for the Warriors tonight. Andrew Wiggins slid to the 3, and then you had Draymond and Trayce Jackson-Davis rounding out your front court for your starting 5. At the end of late in the fourth quarter, Kerr went back to that lineup, except I think Trayce Jackson-Davis was subbed out for Kyle Anderson. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, Jonathan Kuminga needs to finish this game. He has been playing fantastic ball. He's a huge reason why the Warriors were even blowing the Thunder out in the first place. So I was reassured to see Kuminga finish this game. And again, I don't know if that's Kuminga just forcing Kerr's hand and where Kerr just has to play him. I don't know if Kerr is starting to develop more trust in the young player. I don't know if the assistant coaches are playing a part in this, Terry Stotts and Jerry Stackhouse. I don't know if Draymond Green and other teammates are playing a part in this, but Kerr is showing more and more faith in Jonathan Kuminga, and it's beautiful to see because every time he does that, he gets rewarded for it, and Kuminga had a solid night. His stat line for the evening, he played 26 minutes, 23 seconds. He was 8 of 11 from the field, all right? That is damn good. That is near what is that? Like nearly over 70% shooting just from the field. He was also 2 of 4 from deep. One of those 2 3-pointers was not near the line. I mean, it was a good 28 feet out, and Kuminga just easily hit that. So he shoots 50% from 3. He shoots nearly 80% from the field total. Has 2 trips to the free throw line. Was 2 of 3 from the line. That is a part of his game that he does need to work on. 65% will not fly as a free throw percentage. But regardless, he adds 5 boards in this game, only committed 2 fouls, only gave up 2 turnovers, also had a blocked shot, was 4th on the team in net rating with a +7, finishes the game with 20 points, 2nd on the team in scoring, and a great night for Jonathan Kuminga, who held his own against the OKC Thunder. He was physical. He was making life difficult for the Thunder on both sides of the ball. Kudos to Jonathan Kuminga, and kudos to Steve Kerr and the coaching staff for putting their faith in him. He delivers when they do that. And Kuminga was huge. I want to see real fast if there's any sound that has come down the social media wire since the game ended. Now, granted, usually the last game of a road trip is typically not when you're going to get a lot of good sound from the team, just because they want to get the hell out of there. They want to go home. Now, with that said, fortunately, I did find one soundbite. or no, I found two of them. I'm sorry. No, actually, it's one. It's the same one from two different people. This is Steve Kerr talking about starting DeAnthony Melton. And we're going to talk about Melton in just a second because he also had a great game. There were a lot of people who deserve kudos tonight. But let's hear from Steve Kerr. DeAnthony Melton started. This was the and I will look at your donation question, I promise. I see it now. I promise, OMG, I'll get to you in just 1 second. But let's hear real fast from Steve Kerr talking about DeAnthony Melton making his first start of the season and his career for the Golden State Warriors, and whether or not that's a sign of things to come, or if maybe the experimentation continues. Regardless, here is Steve Kerr talking about Melton and the Warriors' huge win.
You started at Melton. Was that matchups based, or did you just really kind of?
I like this lineup with Melt. I anticipate doing it again Tuesday. I think it gives us a really good two-way lineup. You saw what he can do at both ends. Starts the game out with a beautiful assist. He's a really good passer, excellent three-point shooter, but a really good on-ball defender as well. So, Melton, the starting lineup is something we've talked about a lot, in camp and here in the early going, and I really liked it. And I think it makes a lot of sense for it.
And Melton is he's long, so he's 6'3", which was a concern of mine when they first signed him. But he does have a 6'8" wingspan, and like Steve Kerr said, he is fantastic on both sides of the ball. Meaning, offensively, he can score. He made some huge threes in this game, and defensively, he can play defense on just about anyone who is not your traditional power forward or center. His stat line tonight was fantastic. He was third on the team in scoring with 19 points. He grabbed 10 rebounds. His defense was exemplary. There was a play in the fourth quarter where he came up with a steal, and I think this was when the lead had whittled down to just 6 for the Warriors with about 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, and Melton was pivotal. Defensively, I mean, on both sides, but defensively, he grabbed this crucial steal, which resulted in a Stephen Curry 3 on the other side of the court. And Melton, those 10 rebounds, 6 of those were in the fourth quarter. That he was clutch, and he was there when they needed him most. Solid signing. As long as he plays, good things are happening. So as long as he can be healthy for this team, that's another fantastic move by Mike Dunleavy Jr. this offseason. Bravo. And he also added, he had 2 assists on the night. Not a big deal. Draymond Green took care of business on that part of the game, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But again, 19 points, 10 rebounds for DeAnthony Melton, who was 5 of 8 from deep. And he was one of the guys that every time the Thunder, you got the sense they were going to start making a run, there was DeAnthony Melton. Whoop, here's another three-pointer. Why don't you sit your ass down because we got this game. He was killing the Thunder's momentum all night. And of those 5 three-pointers, he had 1 3-point attempt in the fourth quarter. He made that. So he was part of that run in the final quarter of the game for the Golden State Warriors to take care of business. I want to address the chat real fast just because, again, when you're donating money, and I apologize for not getting to the chat early when I host these shows solo, it is nearly impossible for me to multitask at that level where I can simultaneously recap the game, provide analysis, and read everything that's going on. So I do apologize, but I caught a glimpse of a donation. OMG _it's Manny writes, this is, I believe, a lineup that you like, and the lineup you're referring to is Stephen Curry, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, and Trace Jackson Davis. I would absolutely love that starting lineup. Are we going to see it? Probably not, just because Steve Kerr literally just said that DeAnthony Melton is going to start on Tuesday, and Wiggins, I don't see him coming off the bench anytime soon. I am with you. I still think Moody and Kuminga are the future of the Warriors, in addition to being important, pivotal contributors for the present. But Damian LaRoche writing that Moody's the odd man out. And the reason why I highlight Damian is for a couple of reasons. First of all, Damian is a Golden Dazer, which means for just a paltry $2.99 a month. His comments are always highlighted. He gets access to the big guests we have on the show. Case in point, Mark Spears of ESPN was on the show yesterday. And I strongly recommend checking that out if you're a fan of his work and the Warriors and this program in general. But again, that interview was available for the Golden Dazers yesterday, and then it became available for everyone else this morning. But you bring up Moody because on social media, I saw a few people having some gripes. There's some people in the chat I saw having some gripes as well when it comes to Moses Moody and people just ignoring him. If what I read from other folks is correct, there is criticism that Brandon Pajemski, that Andrew Wiggins, that Jonathan Kuminga, that a lot of Warriors players tonight had a wide open Moody there for him to drain threes and hit them, and they just weren't looking for him. I will say this. I do not believe that anyone is intentionally ignoring Moses Moody. I try to find some of these plays myself. I didn't see any of them. I'm not saying it didn't happen. But the only negative action that's being intentionally directed at Moses Moody is the coaching staff limiting minutes for him. Case in point tonight, he played 10 minutes, 38 seconds, had 1 3-pointer for his total scoring output, 3 points, but that was a big three. I do remember that vividly. But yeah, Moody, there are nights where he gets a lot of love from the coaches and he plays, and there's nights like tonight where he plays 10 minutes, 38 seconds. I love the kid. I think he could play. If you watch this show, you've heard me on plenty of occasions endorse Moses Moody as a full-time rotational piece, someone who deserves to get minutes. I think Andrew Wiggins, even with a game like tonight, and I'm going to talk about him in just a second here, even with Wiggins playing the way he's playing right now, I believe strongly that Moses Moody makes Wiggins moot. I also think Gary Payton II is moot because you have Moses Moody. I personally believe Moody deserves minutes over both those guys. You might think I'm crazy, and that's okay because all of this is subjective. The point is, for all you Moses Moody lovers out there, I feel you. I get it. I don't think people are intentionally ignoring him, but I'm sure even Moody would express similar sentiments and would say something like this regarding playing 10 minutes in a game where he's having an awesome season so far. Moody, how does it feel to still get the stay ready treatment, even though you're clearly showing growth in your game and you clearly are showing that you belong? How does that feel, Moses?
It sucks.
Yeah, I think we all know how it feels or how he feels about that. But with that said, at least on a game like tonight, the Warriors did not pay any sort of price for not playing Moody, largely because Andrew Wiggins was awesome. I want to read his stat line real fast just to tell you just his impact did reflect on the stat sheet in addition to the eye test. If you're watching this game, and real fast, let me backtrack to D'Anthony Melton because I want to give him a credit for one particular play very late in this game, which was huge. Talking about those 10 rebounds, Andrew Wiggins late in this game, and the game still was not put away. Like the Thunder had made a comeback. If you're a Warriors fan, you were feeling nerves, and rightfully so. Given it's a road game against the number one defense in the NBA, against one of the top teams in the NBA, and they've come to within 6 after being down by as much as 30. So Andrew Wiggins gets fouled and goes to the free throw line. And I think he got fouled on a drive. So it was a good foul. And again, there's only a few players on this team that consistently can get to the free throw line, draw fouls because they're in the paint a lot, attacking the rim. Andrew Wiggins is one of those guys. And so Wiggins, just to give you an idea of that, not a lot of free throw attempts tonight. He had 6 total, but that means 3 trips to the free throw line. That means 3 fouls that are accumulating on the other team as both the team defense total and for the individuals who get those fouls. It is important to draw fouls on the opposition. And that's one of the many reasons why I routinely endorse Jonathan Kuminga playing a lot, because he can draw fouls. He attacks the paint consistently. He's super fast. Well, Wiggins is also really good at that. So he had 3 he had 3 trips to the free throw line tonight. He was 4 of 6 shooting free throws. Those 2 misses were at the very end. He missed the first free throw, and you're thinking to yourself, if you're watching this, great, here we go again. And then he misses the second free throw as well, but DeAnthony Melton came up with the rebound. And that is one of the most difficult rebounds you can get in the NBA. And it's also one of the most inexcusable if you're the offensive team. But DeAnthony Melton came down with an offensive board off a missed OKC free throw. And that was huge. I just have to give Melton credit for that, because if you're OKC and you're coming back, you brought this game to within 6, and then you commit a foul, so they're about to take an 8-point lead. They miss both their free throws. In your mind, you're thinking, let's run, let's push, let's cut this lead down to even more, cut it to 4. Oh, wait. Their 6'3" guard, DeAnthony Melton, just grabbed an offensive rebound. That was a huge play. He missed the putback, but then Wiggins, being the tenacious, the ferocious player he was tonight, he grabbed that missed shot for a rebound and put it in, and it helped take care of business. And if you remember that sequence of plays, you understand how pivotal those plays were, and they were very symbolic in terms of just the Warriors as a whole, dominating the glass tonight, dominating the paint tonight. And Wiggins for the night, statistically, 18 points in this game. He was tied with Stephen Curry for net rating leaders. He was a plus 21. Him and Steph led the team in that category. Added 8 rebounds in this game. Also had 5 assists in this game. Also had 3 steals in this game. Also had a blocked shot. Wiggins shot 50% from deep. He was 2 of 4 from the three-point line. So again, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 of 4 from deep, 3 steals and a block. Andrew Wiggins, have yourself a night. He was fantastic. So I just want to mention that. OMG, it's Manny, who earlier dropped some money with the lineup suggestion. And again, I'm with you. I love Moses Moody also. He's writing that the Sacramento Kings just took the lead on the Phoenix Suns, who do not have Kevin Durant. We will do a scoreboard check at the end of the show. I'm also going to post the link. If anybody wants to come on the show tonight and express anything, I will open that door for you. So the link is now in the chat if anyone wants to jump in. But one more time, kudos to Andrew Wiggins. Phenomenal night. Going back to giving credit to the coaching staff, I want to give Kerr, Stotts, Stackhouse, and everyone else their due, not just for the faith they put in Kuminga to finish this game, but also for the Kevon Looney DNP. For the simple reason that they were clearly very cognizant of what the Thunder were going to bring tonight. And I have to give the coaching staff credit for having the awareness to understand that Looney was completely unnecessary in a game like this. So just little props there. Just he was just not needed. DNP for him, the DNP for Lindy Waters, I'm not as supportive of. Lindy so far, I think personally has been a fantastic addition to this team. Spaces the floor with his 3-point shooting. He got a DNP as well. But nonetheless, in a win, it's hard to complain about things. But the Looney DNP, I thought, was a little interesting. Gary Payton II, and again, when Moses Moody gets 10 minutes, 38 seconds, the GP 2 minutes is usually what I'm looking at. And look, they won tonight, so it's hard to criticize these kinds of things. These are nitpicks. But even though GP2 has a high field goal percentage, and that's mostly because nearly all of his buckets are just dunks and quick layups. Like he's always, when it comes to shooting and offense, within like 3 feet of the basket. So when you see the box score and you see that Gary Payton II was a perfect 3 of 3 from the field and had 7 points total, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, wow, well, then he's efficient. He's doing good. But here's the problem with GP2 and the minutes he's getting this year. He's not the same defensive player that he was when he was on the Warriors last time. His defense is not at the level that it was that garnered him the $30+ million contract, that garnered the attention from the Warriors to trade back to get him, giving up Wiseman and some draft picks in the process. But we saw Gary Payton II play a lot of one-on-one defense tonight versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, whose, side note, I thought it was really weird that that their head coach Daynall took him out with about a minute to go in this game. I did not understand that move at all. I don't know if they just threw in the towel, even though they were like within 8 with about a minute to go. But regardless, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this game still scored 24 points. I do understand the frustration that a lot of other people have about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in terms of the referees blowing that whistle way too much for him because of those 24 points. Half of those points, 12, came from free throws. He had 14 free throw attempts in this game. And look, the truth is, my GP2 criticism, you might scoff at it, and maybe to a certain extent it's justifiable. My whole point is I'm watching Moses Moody not get minutes. I'm seeing GP2 get minutes, and I don't understand that other than GP2, is just a favorite of Kerr's. And if Stephen Curry's pushing for this, then it's hard to argue against it. But again, when your entire job is to be a lockdown defender, and instead you're in foul trouble most of the night, as Gary Payton II was, and the guy you're defending still puts up 24 points, still grabs 5 boards, 4 assists. I just don't see what the justification is for that. If you love Moody, those are the minutes that I keep saying that should be going to him. But that's just me. And again, the referees, though, when it comes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's absolutely absurd. It really is. They're even like in the second quarter, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander blatantly pushed off Andrew Wiggins. This was at about the 120 mark of the second quarter. It should have been a blatant offensive foul. Side note, SGA had the ball, and that's what he does a lot of. And maybe it's a sign that he's ultimately might become more of a James Harden type player in this league, or maybe more of a Trae Young type player in this league, than someone who is as good as advertised. Because offensively, a lot of the space that he gives himself comes from pushing off other players. That example I just read off to you was one of many in this game. He routinely, you see the arm extending when he has the ball, and you see defenders flying away from him. Why are the refs not blowing the whistle on that? Steve Kerr was irate, and I don't blame him for the preferential treatment the referees routinely give Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't like the gimmicky stuff. I don't like players who get most of their points at the free throw line, because what that tells me is that as a natural basketball player, you're not it. To me, if you really are a legendary basketball player, you're going to succeed regardless of the format. Meaning, if you're on the blacktop playing 5-on-5 street ball, where no one's calling fouls unless they're the hardest fouls imaginable, it's just hard for me to respect that. It really is. And I look at James Harden routinely for that. I look at Trae Young routinely for that. And I've seen and heard a lot of people criticize Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for this same reason. I've never seen it at this level until tonight. This was the most egregious I've seen Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in terms of manipulating the officials to get calls or to not get calls. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. The Shai Gilgeous-Alexander thing is incredibly ridiculous. Taking a step back real fast, because of my notes, I wrote down to myself that I should mention Stephen Curry's third quarter stats. And I'm guessing I wrote myself that note because Stephen Curry had an awesome third. I haven't actually looked at the third quarter stats. This is Stephen Curry in the third quarter. And I see now why I wrote that down. Stephen the third scored 17 points. He was 7 of 10 from the field. He was 2 of 4 from deep, was a plus 21 net rating in a quarter, added 3 rebounds, 2 assists. So that was Stephen Curry's third quarter for you, which was incredibly strong. This was his game. This was easily Stephen Curry's best game. of the season. I'm trying to see if there's anything in the chat that Fang USFU says the NBA wants to make Shea the new chosen one, a routine fouler and flopper, fake tough, super soft. And Rafael Luna bringing up a fascinating play late in this game when writing that Draymond scared me with that swing. This was the call that the OKC Thunder challenged. It was a foul. I think it was Lou Dort was the other player. And there was blatant contact. And then Draymond Green's finally frustrated, swings his arm, gets called for a technical for the arm swing. But the Warriors did get the ball back after that one free throw. And Draymond Green, I thought, had a fantastic game tonight. I mean, the defense is obvious, right? But Draymond was offensively kicking ass out there. He was looking to score. I know he only had 8 points on the night, but those 8 points came from two 3-pointers made. He was 2 of 3 from deep. He also made a running layup attacking the rim. So 8 points for him on one made shot, one made field goal, 2 made 3-pointers. But point guard Dre is back. And we've been talking on this show for the last 2-3 years a lot about this, about the fact that Draymond Green's usage rate offensively has plummeted. And Draymond used to want to be like the point guard of this team offensively. He used to thrive setting up Stephen Curry. The last 2 years, and again, I don't know what the culprit is for that. We haven't seen Draymond as much as the offensive facilitator. We're seeing a lot more of that again this year. And I don't know if that's the Terry Stotts influence. Talk about fresh perspective being a wonderful thing in leadership positions. Mark Spears making that point on yesterday's show. Again, strongly recommend checking that episode out. It's now available. But Draymond tonight, the reason why I bring all this up about his offense, besides the fact that he was 2 of 3 from beyond the arc and scored 8 points, he also had 4 rebounds, which for him is not good, but it doesn't matter. They won. But what Draymond Green did contribute, besides the 8 points, is 11 assists. He was setting that offense up a lot. He was not afraid to penetrate. Draymond had a fantastic night. And again, when the other team is playing small ball, Draymond Green, you can almost see the drool coming out of his mouth because you know it's utter feast for him when the other team is playing small ball. So this was just set up for the Warriors beautifully. Bill M adding, yes, I love point Draymond. Luke Chess in the chat saying, in all caps, a hot take for Jonathan Kuminga. He's better off the bench, and he's been the second best player after the Cavs game. He's got confidence. Wholeheartedly agree. The Kuminga that we saw the first 3 games, who was completely in his head and who was playing bad basketball, no defense of it, totally has flipped that around. We're starting to see the Kuminga that played since January of last year, where he's averaging nearly 20 points a game. So that is awesome. And Luke Chess also asking, again in all caps, does that mean like you're yelling every time that you type? Or is this how I'm supposed to be reading your chat question? And I'm being facetious. I don't care really, but you write, you think John Kuminga is the second best player on the team? That's how I'm reading it with the all caps. Is Jonathan Kuminga the second best player on the Golden State Warriors? That's a good question. I don't know if you could say he's the second best undisputed. I almost feel like you have Steph, obviously, as the captain of the ship. He's the man. But then you have this second tier that has a few players in it. So I guess you could say for the second best player, you could say Kuminga. You could say Draymond Green. I'm sure some people would argue for Andrew Wiggins. Some people might argue for Buddy Hield, who had a quiet night tonight. We'll talk about him in just a second, but not I'm muted. Someone said I'm muted. Wait, yeah, you're Damien. You scared me, brother. I am not muted right now. So I love Kuminga, but I also try to keep it honest and real. And I'd say he's one of 3 or 4 players you could argue for being the second best player. Tim Ford is maybe this is more accurate. Tim Ford saying that Kuminga is the second most important player on this team. That is fair because no one else is collapsing a defense like he is. And his athleticism and size on this roster is unmatched. But then you also have Pinoy reformat saying Draymond's the second most important. And so now I'm kind of backtracking myself. You could almost do a whole show on that question. Great question, though. I mean, it's a phenomenal topic. Yeah, so he's one of them. There's a few fantastic players on this team that you could say are the second best. I apologize, Pinoy reformat, who's saying the yelling was blowing out some speakers out there. I apologize. Buddy Hield, by the way, I just want to mention his stats because quiet night for him. And I don't think he was quiet because he was having a bad night. It's just they didn't need him to be the Buddy Hield that entering tonight's game was second on the team in scoring, has led the team in scoring most of the year. He did play 21 minutes. He was 2 of 5 from deep, which represents 40% shooting from three. Yes, that is very good. But he only scored 8 points, did have 5 rebounds. I thought he played some great defense. Those 5 rebounds he grabbed, some of those were big boards where Buddy Hield was almost like a power forward out there. So it's good to see it's good to see Buddy Hield able to diversify his approach, meaning he doesn't always have to be someone who's putting up 10 plus 3-point attempts where he's living or dying with that shot. He can do other things, and you need that. And he's giving it. So kudos to Buddy Hield, who despite only having 8 points tonight was awesome, especially in other facets of the game. Now, quite a few people in the chat are mentioning Brandon Pajemski's name. And hold on. Tim Ford is asking for me to say Steve O. I don't know. I actually don't know what that means. I apologize for that. Steve. I don't know what you're talking about. I apologize, Tim. You got to be more specific there. Anyways, so MDAA asking who started the 2 this evening. It was D'Anthony Melton, who was fantastic. But I want to talk real fast about someone who's become a little polarizing. That's Brandon Pajemski, because Brandon Pajemski is one of the winningest players in the NBA when you look at net rating. Brandon Pajemski got another charge tonight, but when you look at the stat line, this was clearly not a Brandon Pajemski evening. This is, to the best of my recollection, do not quote me on this like it's fact. I am simply stating this off memory. But I do not recall Brandon Pajemski ever being dead last on the Warriors in net rating, the category that he routinely dominates in. He was a -10. Like by far the worst. So when Brandon Pajemski was out there, the OKC Thunder outscored the Warriors by 10 points. Brandon Pajemski laid a donut in scoring tonight. No points. He was 0 of 2 from the field. One of those 2 field goal attempts was a 3-pointer. For someone who's notorious as a rebounding guard, he had 1 rebound total. He had 1 assist total. He did have 1 turnover. He got called for 4 fouls. Look, this was not his night, clearly. The good news is his minutes were limited. We all know Steve Kerr plays his favorites, and Pajemski has quickly slid his way into the upper echelons of Steve Kerr's favorites. Sorry to be redundant again, the players he likes the most. But good news is his minutes were held tonight to 15 and 5 seconds. Probably because he was just not having a good night. Do you have a right to be upset that he still played 5 more minutes than Moses Moody? Yeah, you've got a point if that's a gripe of yours. That is a valid point. And Damian LaRoche saying some of those fouls that were called on Pajemski were bullshit. But it happens. It happens. Luke Chess writing in the chat that Pods is kind of a ball hogger. When Kuminga or Moody are open, he's just going to pull up and miss. Yeah, he just didn't have a good night tonight. But again, the good news is it didn't matter. So it didn't matter. Even his -10 net rating didn't matter. The Warriors won the game. Now Fang SFU bringing up that, mentioning that Pajemski can't defend. You might have a point there. It was one bad game. The good news about Podziemski is I don't recall him consistently playing bad. Like usually if he has a bad game, he'll turn it around and recover. But there's no defense of his stats tonight. I mean, there isn't. That's just you should not be laying donuts for scoring. You should not have a 0 in scoring, because that also means that you did not get to the free throw line, which he did not. The 1 assist is inexcusable. Just a bad night. Just a bad night. There's no way to spin that. But again, the good news is the Golden State Warriors won this game. So you don't have to let that, be a big issue. And last but not least, I want to quickly give a shout out to Kyle Anderson, who had another terrific game. Slow-mo. Again, the stat sheet will not typically reflect his contributions. He was 0 of 2 from the 3-point line. After the second one, I think everyone was thinking the same thing. Please stop. Do not put up another 3-point attempt. Those are not going in tonight. And the great news is he did stop. And he's just a winner. He plays winning basketball. Again, he had 5 assists tonight. He's handling this point guard role magnificently. And again, he dished out 5 assists. He also grabbed 5 rebounds. He had 6 points, a +7 in net rating. Kyle Anderson, again, will not show you what he's doing on the box score. He will show you by actually the end result of the game, and you actually have to watch him play to see what he's doing. And most of his contributions are defensive, but Kyle Anderson, another fantastic game. And the Warriors improved to 8-2 on the year. I'm looking at the NBA scoreboard right now. It looks like the Sacramento Kings are putting the Phoenix Suns away, which means that the Warriors will be atop the Western Conference, tied with OKC. Except they beat them, so they're ahead. So they're going to be tied with the Phoenix Suns, who they have not played with yet, for the top spot in the West, in the ever competitive West, where all of these results are massively important. Over in the Eastern Conference, you have just teams shit in the bed like the Bucks and the Sixers. Collectively, I think they have 3 wins together, but you only have 2 teams in the Eastern Conference who are above 500. So these awful teams can probably survive playing like this for months and still have hopes of getting to the playoffs. That is not the luxury that the Warriors have. These games are important. They're mattering. And an 8-2 start is going to make a difference when we're looking back at this in March, April. Don't forget that 2022 title team started 18-2, and they were playing mostly 500 ball the rest of the way because they knew what they had with that team. And then the regular season started to become not as important when you saw the landscape. And I think they still finished that season as the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. So the point is, these games are important, and they're winning them. And they're now 8-2. And I'll say this. A month ago, when we looked at that Mavericks game on the schedule, Klay Thompson's homecoming, I'm guessing a lot of people thought this is going to be a game where Klay's going to leave happy, where the Mavericks are going to kick Golden State's ass. And I don't know anybody who's feeling that way now. I haven't looked at the line yet. I don't know if there is a line, but something tells me the Warriors are going to be favored in that game. And then we go back to what someone mentioned, I forgot who it was earlier in the show, talking about, I think it was Pinoy Reformat, correct me if I'm wrong, who was saying that now the issues of the Warriors playing at home may be highlighted because for some reason when they're at home, that urgency is not there, the tenacity, the aggressiveness. It's not there at home that we're seeing on the road. And I don't understand why that is, but we shall find out soon. And again, regardless, this 8-2 start is so important. It's such a good sign that the Warriors are doing this. So be happy, folks. Be damn happy, folks, because this reflects reality. This Warriors team is good. Strength in numbers is real. I'm giddy. Let me see if there's any more sound real fast here. We've been going for almost an hour. God damn. Okay, so good. Time flies when you're having a good time. So let's see if there's any more sound real fast. So the Kings are about to win. We'll get to that score in just a second. I just want to see if there's any more sound that had come down from either Kerr or from anyone for that matter. I don't know if Steph Curry spoke any more at length. It looks like not. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., as is the case every Monday when the Warriors don't play, Sophia Jones and I will host the new episode of V for Valkyrie, and we'll play a lot more sound on tomorrow's episode. Again, 3 p.m. Pacific time every Monday. Join us for Golden Days, where we are live with the talented Sophia Jones, who joins me. Yeah, right back at you, Fang SFU, who writes, great show, love the positivity. It goes both ways. The chat's positive. The audience is positive as well. Oh, man. And then OMG, it's Manny dropping another contribution, $1.99, saying hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you, man. We're almost at 3,000. We're creeping up on there. We're super close. And let's just hope for everyone's sake, we just have a lot more nights like tonight where the Golden State Warriors are showing themselves as a team who is a real, legitimate world title contender. They're real, folks. They right now can play with anyone. But before I'm ready to boldly go out and say that I think this team will win the whole thing, and I'm going to get into that because I made that prediction in August of 2021. I knew back then from the very beginning that Warriors team was going to win the championship. And on a future episode, I'll get into the why of that. There were very specific reasons, and I'm seeing some of the why here. And I'll get into detail about that on a future show. But this team could win it. Stephen Curry could have his 5th title. And friendly reminder, and my sincerest apologies to the audience if you don't like hearing this, but it's going to happen. If the Warriors do win that 5th championship, I will never criticize Steve Kerr again. I've made that vow before. I'll make it again. Steve Kerr will be forever criticism-free in my book. And Bill M., thank you, sir, for the contribution as well, saying great show. Thank you. And yeah, Damien LaRoche, this is the reason why, because a 5th championship will change a lot of legacies, starting with Stephen Curry. He is so special. I want the best for him. I want the history books to be written in a way where Stephen Curry's greatness is reflected, and championships are the best way to present those arguments, to fortify a legacy. I want that 5th championship. Damien LaRoche, I mean, how the hell can you defend LeBron James as a GOAT? Never mind being better than Steph when he has less titles than Stephen Curry and they played in the same era. I'm 1,000% with you there. So, producer Ryan, good to see you as well. JJ Raider saying getting a Kerr tattoo if they win a 5th championship. I'll even do that. You said it right here. I'll get a Steve Kerr tattoo. If the Warriors win a 5th championship, it won't just be Kerr. Maybe it'll be something creative. I will get a Steve Kerr tattoo. It might also have Steph on it. Maybe it'll be something subtle, but Steve Kerr will be permanently inked on my body if the Warriors become world champions again for a 5th time. So otherwise, let's go through the scoreboard to wrap up the show. Steve, that's right. That's why the 2016 season was rigged. And Luke Chess real fast in the chat, giving some love to Kuminga, saying his scoring average is now up to 14. I think he's gonna make that close to 20 by the end of the season. Those first 3 games tanked his average. But I agree with you. I totally agree with you that Kuminga could be a 20 points a game scorer this season. So we shall see. All right, let's go around the NBA. No, Bill M is saying, will the tattoo be on your ass? No, it will be at a place where I could actually show it off. And Tim Ford saying Kuminga's scoring average is closer to 16 now. We'll go over all that on tomorrow's show with Sophia Jones. Again, every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. All right, going around, the rest of the NBA, catching up on some other scores. A lot of games on a Sunday where the Niners also won. Again, that was a great win. Brock Purdy, the gunslinger there. A final in overtime, the Sacramento Kings improved to 6-4. They defeated the Phoenix Suns, who dropped to 8-2. There is now a 3-way tie atop the Western Conference between the Suns, the Thunder, and your Golden State Warriors. The Sacramento Kings beating them 127-118. DeMar DeRozan, a top performer for the Kings with 34 points. Bradley Beal with 28 points, 8 rebounds in the loss. The Dallas Mavericks, who the Warriors play next, lost to the Denver Nuggets at Mile High, 122-120, a close one there. Kyrie Irving, 43 points in the loss. Nikola Jokic, who's putting up some numbers this year, 37 points, 18 rebounds, 15 assists in the loss. The Miami Heat trying to stay relevant, and a win tonight will do that. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota 95-94 to improve to 4-5 on the year. Tyler Hero, 26 points, 6 rebounds in the win. Anthony Edwards, 22 points and 6 assists in the loss for the Timberwolves, who dropped to 6-4. And that is a test for the Golden State Warriors. There's a few opponents I need to see with Golden State before I'm going to start making some bold predictions here. Because I don't want to just say it, right? I mean, a huge part of my thing is being genuine and just not bullshitting the audience, man. I don't, that's just not who I am. And so I don't want to just sit here and say, I predict the Warriors because it needs to be like, it needs to be authentic is what I'm trying to say. But so I need to see the Warriors play Minnesota. I need to see the Warriors play LA. I need to see the Warriors play Denver. But with all that said, and the Cleveland rematch in Chase Center is going to be interesting as well. But this Warriors team's real, folks. All right, make no mistake about it. They are among the elite of the NBA. Okay, so going back to the scoreboard right now. Sorry. The Philadelphia 76ers got their second win of the season. This despite not having Maxey, not having Embiid, but it was the Charlotte Hornets that they defeated 107-105. The final, McCain, who I don't even know who McCain is. He was the top performer for the 76ers with 27 points. Who the hell is that? Hold on one second here. Jay McCain played 31 minutes. Jared McCain. I am not familiar with this kid at all, probably because he's a rookie. He was the 76ers 16th pick in the draft this past June. That explains it. He played at Duke, and he was the top performer for the Philadelphia 76ers, 27 points. He was 3 of 8 from deep in this game. Paul George had 15. So Philly getting their second win of the season. LaMelo Ball, 38 points, 8 assists in the loss for Charlotte. The Orlando Magic winning 121-94 over the Washington Wizards. Franz Wagner, 23 points, 7 assists in the dominating win. Koulibaly, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists in the loss for a Wizards team that I still think is this is the best I've seen from Washington in a damn long time. The Indiana Pacers, this was a good one. They hosted the New York Knicks, putting them away 132-121. Tyrese Halliburton, 35 points, 14 assists in the win. Jalen Brunson, 33 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists in the loss. Those are some numbers. The Boston Celtics defeating the Milwaukee Bucks 113-107 in Milwaukee. Oh, and by the way, the Pacers, are now 5-5. The Knicks dropped to 4-5. The Celtics improved to 9-2, which I believe is good for the best record in the NBA. Again, defeating the Bucks 113-107. The Bucks fall to 2-8. Jason Tatum, 31 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 43 points and 13 rebounds in the loss. The Houston Rockets, another good team out there in the West, 101-99 winners over the Detroit Pistons, another team who has vastly improved. Alperen Sengun, 27 points, 10 rebounds in the win. Cade Cunningham, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists in the loss for the Pistons, who dropped to 4-7. The Rockets improved to 6-4. And 2 games going on right now. The Memphis Grizzlies, who the Warriors play later this coming week, are beating the piss out of the Portland Trailblazers. 106-68 the score in that one. 1 quarter to go. LaRavia, 18 points, 3 steals, 3 blocks for the Grizzlies. Jeremy Grant, 20 points for the trailing Portland Trailblazers. So if you're listening or watching this on a recorded version, not live, safe to say Memphis will win that game. And then a game that I have no clue who's going to win. It's at halftime right now. The Toronto Raptors visiting the LA Lakers, and they lead at the half 55-53. Jakob Poeltl, 10.7 rebounds for the Raptors. The LA Lakers led by Anthony Davis, who's having a hell of a season. He has 19 points at the half. The Raptors currently 2-8. The Lakers currently 5-4. That should do it. Anything else? Oh, Gamer F2P, thank you for the correction. Thank you. I said the Boston Celtics have the best record in the NBA, second best. My apologies to the Cleveland Cavaliers and their fan base. Cleveland remains undefeated. Thank you for that correction. My apologies for that. Fang USFU writing, Dame Lillard is not a superstar. Oh, that could be a bold take. Well, very fascinated to see what happens in Milwaukee. Nick the Greek, look at you, welcome back. Saying the Bucks I need a new coach. Yeah, Doc Rivers. I think the Bucks just need to blow that whole thing up. That's where I'm leaning. Anything else? I just want to see real fast. There's anyone else in the chat who's bringing up something that I should touch on. Pinoy reformat, adding that a lot of Western Conference threats took a step back. I do love it. See, even Bubba's all excited about the Warriors. Hope folks can hear him right now. All right. I guess that does it. We'll be back tomorrow. That's Monday. I know that's rough, but hopefully we'll make your day a little easier. Sophia Jones and I will follow up on this road trip and preview that'll preview the Warriors and Mavericks on Tuesday. Ryan, thank you, sir. Really do appreciate that. Tim Ford saying it was Steve O from the show. That's how you introduced him. Steve. Tim, let me think about that one, because I try to make everyone happy, but I have no clue. Is it Steve O, like Steve Kerr? Who's the Steve? Like, who's Steve that I'm talking about? Anyways, ATGYY saying start Kuminga. Enough is enough. Gamer FTP is asking, can I do an episode on the Warriors' best lineups? I'm really glad you brought that up, because yes, this week, I don't think it's going to be tomorrow's show, but this week I'm going to do an episode on which lineups have been most effective for the Warriors. Not just 5-man lineups. So sometimes I like to look at net rating leaders for duos as well. Like, for example, Stephen Curry and Buddy Hield entering tonight's game were a plus 76 on the year. That's the top rated duo for the Warriors. Fifth in the NBA total. Domantas Sabonis and Keegan Murray, interestingly enough, are the top net rating duo in the NBA right now. This was at least from 2 days ago. But yes, I will 100% do that. That episode's coming up soon, just to see which combinations of players on the Warriors are most effective and least effective. That's where the net rating numbers really shine, is these 5-man lineups, because then subjectivity's out the door. When you're giving net rating stats on 5-man lineups, that is objective. That is literally just you seeing how these 5 people are doing against 5 other individuals, team versus team. So 100%. We'll check that out. All right. Nick the Greek, real fast, wanting me to add a disclaimer that Brandon Pajemski is playing basketball with a mask and a broken nose. We have a Brandon Pajemski defender in here, following up on pods, not putting up good numbers tonight. But as I said, Nick, I don't remember pods ever having back-to-back bad games. Like you said, he's wearing that mask. He hates it. He missed 2 games because of illness. We later found out the illness was related to dizziness, which is telling me that could be brain issues, and that's very serious stuff. So, yeah. And again, it might not be brain issues, by the way. It could also be dizziness is caused by a lot of things. But nonetheless, the dizziness thing could be serious. So, yeah, Potts is not 100%. I wasn't piling on him tonight, but, just the stat sheet, though, is very bad. There's no way to spin that. 0 points is just, how can it be? I don't know how you could spin that. At a minimum, get free throws, right? Get to the line. But like you said, Nick, he has the mask going, and his health is not 100%. So, and Pinoy reformat adding that this was Pajemski's worst game, which just wasn't a good game for Pods. But again, they won, right? So it's one of those things where if a player has a bad night but the team wins, you can live with it. It's when it starts becoming a long-term thing, a consistent thing, that the focus starts to glare at that point. So, and the biggest reason why what the F is Fashion, who writes Pods is the new Ty Jerome, the clear difference between those two, the reason why I don't look at them the same, Pajemski's super young. We still have no idea what we're going to ultimately get for him, right? He could still end up being someone who gives you 15, 20 points a game. We already know he gives you a toughness in the interior with the rebounding. He's just a tough dude, period, with the charges. His lateral quickness is not the best. So defensively, I don't know if he's going to ever make like all defensive teams in his career, but the effort is there. And just the fact that he could rebound for a point guard, it makes up for a lot of deficiencies in terms of the quickness issue. So we shall see. We shall see. In terms of Pajemski, I need 2-3 more years before I can start having, a fortified opinion on him the way I did with Ty Jerome. And Ty Jerome, my biggest issue with his minutes was, he was getting him over Moses Moody, which made no damn sense. And B, it wasn't resulting in winning basketball. Like, your decisions have to result in wins. If they result in 500 basketball, it's not a good decision. They weren't winning. At least Brandon Pajemski is winning. Like Ty Jerome, when he was on the Warriors, his net rating was routinely the worst on the team. Brandon Pajemski, you can't say the same. It was -10 tonight. That's not good, but that's not the norm. So with Pajemski, it's just he's so young, and I want to give him a chance before fortified opinions are set. We shall see. Anyways, thank you, everyone. No. You didn't piss me off at all, Fashion. It's just, I just wanted to just to add some clarity, because I've seen people bring that up before, and I don't want that to be like a talking point that Ty Jerome and Brandon Pajemski are the same guys. Like, they're not. They're very different. And I have hope for Pajemski. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, and hopefully tonight was just an anomaly and not the norm. Thank you, Benjamin, for the kind words. Thank you, everyone. We're back at this tomorrow again, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Sophia Jones joins me, and folks, the Warriors, nobody, myself included, thought that the Warriors were going to enter this 5-game road trip and come out of it 4-1. No one. I mean, worst case scenario for me for this Warriors team going into the season was a 2-8 start, which was not out of the realm of possibility given how tough the first 10 games of the schedule were. I know the opponents, a lot of them were weak, but they had a lot of road games. 7 of the first 10 on the road. You had a 3-game stretch that was arguably the most difficult 3-game schedule in recent NBA history, and they're back home after these first 10 games, an eighth of the season done. $50 for an eighth for all you old school folks who remember those days. And they're 8-2. They're tied for first in the West. They just beat the piss out of the Thunder. They beat the piss out of the Celtics. Even the Cavaliers game, they were getting their ass kicked in the first half of the game. Just the fact that they showed fight and came back in the second half. This is a team that wants it. It's a team it's the deepest team in the NBA. They're hungry. They've got an awesome mix of veterans and youth. The only weakness I see is at the center position, and whether or not that weakness is something they can overcome, we'll find out. But you got to love it. You got to love it. Be happy, okay? Be happy, because the Warriors are a damn good team. They are. They're a title contender, folks. That is the way you should be looking at the Golden State Warriors, as a world championship contender, as someone that might force me to get a Steve Kerr tattoo. That's a promise, folks. I will do that. You have my word. And I'm never going to criticize Steve Kerr again if they win a 5th championship. So we shall find out how all these things go, how the season's going to go. Should be awesome. But again, join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Or 3 p.m. Pacific time with Sophia Jones. We'll get into more of the details on this road trip. We'll preview the Warriors and Mavericks, Klay Thompson coming home. But thank you again to everyone. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Go Warriors. Go happiness. I hope everyone's happy out there. And we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.